Hello, YouTube. It is good to be back today. I'm coming to you from our living room. This is a new filming spot that you'll not have seen before, but I'm trying out a few different spots in the house, and this has all the natural light, and it seems to be a great and comfy spot. I wanted to jump on and talk to you a little bit about the wedding now that we're on the other side of it, because I think I made the mistake of watching wedding planning videos while I was wedding planning. And unless you've actually been through it, it's just the blind leading the blind. I was watching videos of other people who were also planning their wedding, and that's not actually helpful. I wanted to put together this wedding debrief to go over all the details, what we did, what went well, what didn't work, maybe some regrets that we might have, which is hard because it was such a perfect day. And I will keep it very organized so that the chapters feature on YouTube can log things accordingly, and I will also drop a few comments down below as we go. As a background, my fiance and I were engaged last year in Italy. He had given me this birthday trip for my 30th, which was last year, and I had no idea that that was going to be it. He handed me an envelope. There was flight information, there was Airbnb information, and then there was information for a Vespa tour through Chianti. And while I will say I was surprised because of the way that he proposed and how he planned all the timing of the day, I sort of had a hunch because he did the hotels and the flights, and then the one thing he planned was this Vespa tour. We went on this beautiful trip to Italy, and the engagement was perfect. We both cried, and then we had a whole other gaggle of people with us also doing the Vespa tour who were there to celebrate with us at the end. Now, once we got home from the engagement trip, I started wedding planning, and I was really excited about it. I had people calling me, asking me, where's it gonna be? You know, who's gonna be in your wedding party? What are your colors gonna be? Flowers, yada, yada, yada. Not things that I have ever really thought about before. Not that I haven't thought about being married before, it's just I have never been the person who had their wedding plan from like age 4. I was trying to put all these things together, and he didn't really seem ready to dive into wedding planning yet, which is understandable. We knew we weren't gonna do it right away. We were gonna wait at least a year. And with that, though, I sort of took that as, well, maybe we don't want to do a big wedding. Maybe he doesn't want to do a big wedding. Maybe we want to elope. And that started to sound better and better to me. As someone who loves to travel, I was of the mindset, why spend all this money on a wedding when you could use it for the two of you and go elope somewhere and have a fantastic trip in a brand new place, all things that spark my soul. And as soon as I started seriously talking about eloping, that's when he kicked into gear and was like, all right, the wedding, what are we doing? It was a process to land finally on what we were gonna do and how the wedding was actually gonna go. The hardest part we had wedding planning was choosing the location where the wedding would be. And I don't just mean the venue, I mean the city, because we have family spread like shrapnel across the United States and Germany. So it took a while. It took a while to land on a spot because anywhere that we chose, even here in Nashville, we were going to have people traveling in some way, shape, or form. Naturally, after much debate and starting to really think about cities that are important to us and that mean a lot to us as a couple, we landed on New York and decided we wanted to get married in a sort of hotel situation. That would be the easiest for guests, then they wouldn't have to taxi around the city or get on the subway or try to navigate a completely foreign spot to them. I have always loved New York. Sandy used to live in New York and has worked in New York and has close ties in New York. So it seemed like a pretty natural fit. I went to New York in November of last year, I want to say, and I looked at a few venues, and dear God, my eyes were opened. Because if you've never looked at venues in New York, first of all, you have to sacrifice a child to afford them. It is absurd. I looked at an empty box of a room in Chelsea that had a nice view, but it's an empty box. Not even tables, not even linens or flowers or nothing. It was $40,000. I don't know how people get married in New York, because then we started looking at the hotel idea as we originally discussed. And even to do that, the separation between the hotel side and the event side were so separate because of unions and rules around that. There's no way that we could have made it work. After a few months of being so confident and telling people that we were getting married in New York, we had to change gears. And that's how we landed on Nashville. We were downtown for, I forget what event it was, and we were at the Four Seasons downtown, and we started talking about potentially getting married there. We have a very dear friend and someone who works with I almost said my fiance, someone who works with my husband, who actually has a residence at the Four Seasons here. So we were able to have a little bit more access to the residence side of things with where the wedding actually was, where our rehearsal reception would be. So we were very, very fortunate to be able to utilize those spaces because of our connection there. Very thankful to her for making that possible for us. But that is eventually how we landed on the Four Seasons. It had the most beautiful view of the city. It was the closest thing to New York that my husband said he could get for us. We made it work, and then the planning began. Now, I need to rewind really quickly because before we landed on Nashville, while we were still toying with the idea of getting married in New York, I bought my dress. It was not planned. I just wanted to do the Kleinfeld experience with my mom. I thought it would be a really sweet thing to do together. We could go, we could look at dresses, we could try them on, we could find the one that we liked and then find it online cheaper. And of course, that is not how the story unfolded. We went to Kleinfeld, we had the little private room with the champagne and everything while we tried on dresses. Well, I tried on dresses. And I fell in love with, I think it was dress number 6 or 7. And as it happened, that was the least expensive dress. As it happened, that specific designer was having a trunk sale that day. We pulled the trigger and we got the dress. So before we even had the venue nailed down, I had my wedding dress all of 4 months after we got engaged. When I was deciding what my something old, something new, something borrowed, something blue, I also had to factor in that a friend of ours who used to live in London said I also have the sixpence in your shoe added on to the end of that phrase. Apparently there's an old, I don't know if it's English or where the expression comes from, but you have one of your parents put a sixpence in your left shoe before you go down the aisle, and that signifies like wealth and a successful marriage and happiness and all of that. While we were getting ready, my mom did put the sixpence in my shoe, and it was just a special moment to have with her. Something old was the diamond in my ring, because this goes back to my husband is Sanborn McGraw IV, and this goes back to Sanborn McGraw I. So this was my something old. Something new was the dress, or the shoes, or the jewelry. My something borrowed was a bracelet that my mom let me wear that her grandpa had actually given to her when he was still alive. And my something blue, if you watched, I forget which vlog it was, but I went to Victoria's Secret to get my something blue. So you can deduce from there. Now, once we had the venue picked and we had the dress, all the other details of planning a wedding you can do over months. Everything like colors, flowers, cake, flavors, all those little details, wedding party, you have some time once the venue is chosen and you have your dress. Because with the dress, they told me I would not have to come back till a month before the wedding. They would order it, they'd call me in, I'd go in for a fitting. And the venue, obviously, you want to book as far in advance as possible to make sure that you have the dates that you want. But everything else, like colors, flowers, for us was very easy to choose. The colors, it was the New York glam that we wanted, so black and white would have been very elegant, very classic, very sophisticated. And then roses, you know me, I love roses. I have all the rose tattoos, and they're so simple, but they're so beautiful. So black, white, and roses became our color palette. It made everything very easy as far as finding decor, finding suits for our guys to wear, and that is a beautiful segue into the wedding party. The wedding party was among the most difficult things to decide. We originally thought about maybe not having a wedding party just because the two of us over our lives have lived in so many different places that we've had different groups of friends, we've had friends fall off, we've had other things come up that we knew certain people couldn't be in the wedding party. For example, I have a sister and a very close friend who both had newborn babies, and I knew that asking them to stand up in my wedding would be an extra obligation for them. And I would have felt bad, and after the fact, one of them actually told me, I'm kind of glad that you didn't ask me because I would have felt bad saying no. I wanted to be considerate of them, and ultimately we decided to just have all of our closest friends who happened to all be guys, and I didn't have bridesmaids. I had bridesmen and he had groomsmen, and that was that. It was a lot easier to just have them find a suit. There's, I think, blacktux.com is where most of them ended up getting the suit. My guys would have white suits, his guys would have black suits. They'll all have the red, like rose red ties, and we'll get them boutonnieres, and that was that. It was really easy. It was just getting there that was very difficult, because obviously you don't want to hurt people's feelings. You feel a little bit of pressure to ask like siblings and cousins and things like that. Ultimately though, we are so happy with who we chose to be in our wedding party, because they're all such fun people and we have such different histories with all of them. Like one of my bridesmen, for example, I've known since preschool. So the amount of life phases that we have seen each other through, I mean, it was just fun. It made the wedding that much more special. It made the reception that much more special. And I think they look great. And we just had them get black and white suits because that was the easiest avenue to go with the colors. And then my husband and I actually bought their ties for them. We just gave everyone a little bit different of a pattern, but the same rose red color, and they looked very sharp. Next, the guest list. It was awful. It was awful trying to put the guest list together and whittle it down to the 100 that we were allowed at the venue, because there was a certain point where we thought we had it, and then we were told we could have like 20 more, so we added and we changed people, and then we were, oh no, you read that wrong, it's actually just 100. So it was a little difficult putting that together, and I felt a little bad because we weren't able to include cousins, but given that one of his groomsmen was a cousin, it just, it's your wedding, do what you want. Don't listen to people who tell you you have to invite XYZ individual. If it doesn't work in your guest list, it doesn't work in your guest list. It's your wedding, not theirs. On that note, I think we ruffled feathers the most in deciding to have a childless wedding. We asked that it would be adults only. We wanted everyone to just be able to have a night to themselves, to enjoy it for themselves. And in a venue like the Four Seasons, we also didn't want the little bit of added chaos and the little bit of extra volume that comes with having kids be a part of it. And unfortunately, this mainly impacted my family. I was mainly the driver of this decision. My husband didn't really have anything to do with that, because I have 12 nieces and nephews who are aged 8 and under, and I love them all dearly. I really do. I really and truly do. But knowing my siblings, it was not something that would allow them to fully enjoy the wedding. It wasn't going to be as easy to get from point A to point B, finding an Airbnb or a hotel that had that many extra beds or cribs or pack and plays, whatever. I thought I was doing them a favor, and also our wish of what we had envisioned in designing our wedding was that there wouldn't be kids involved. And that did not go over particularly well. So just be aware that certain decisions like that, if you are choosing to have a kid-free wedding, there might be some backlash, but in the end, it is your wedding. You have to do what you want to do, because however the photos go, however the night goes, the reception, I mean, it's your wedding. You're going to remember it for the rest of your life. So do what you want to do, and don't worry about what your family says. Now, once the guest list was finalized, we used a website called Minted to organize everything, to order invitations, envelopes, thank you notes, which we ordered right away because we wanted them to match the invitations. It was kind of a black and white vibe. It was very cool. I loved our invitations. And then Minted also has a feature that you can design your own website. So I know a lot of couples use like The Knot or Zola, but we decided to use Minted because their website was the most user-friendly to design. You can put a little backstory about you and your fiance, you can put photos, you can put hotel reservations, there's a whole RSVP section, and then you also have your registry details. So it makes it very, very easy for guests to go on and kind of get the full picture of what's happening, of what they can do, of where they should stay. This video is not sponsored, but I am so appreciative to Minted for having all of those features. It just made wedding planning and keeping track of the guest list so much easier. Now, fast forward to the day before the wedding. We had a whole little rehearsal reception that my husband's mother put together for us in the residence side of the Four Seasons. They have a little residence lounge with an outdoor terrace, which is where the ceremony would be the next day. And rather than have a rehearsal dinner, because so many people were coming in from out of town, we just decided to have everyone for like a massive cocktail party. My mom made a bunch of desserts. His mom made every appetizer under the sun, and then we had cocktails and wine and all of that for our guests. And it was so nice having that right in the hotel where we were staying, where the wedding would be, and where quite a few of our guests actually ended up staying, because I think everyone was just a little bit more comfortable, and it was a little easier for everyone to then get home or get where they were going afterwards. We were very fortunate in that because we were getting married there the next day, we had one night comped. So we were able to stay in a suite, and I did do a little room tour, which I'm going to insert here because the suite they gave us was amazing. It was, let me just show you. Hello and welcome to our suite here at the Four Seasons. I thought I would do a little room tour. I wasn't going to, but then I got to the room and I saw how beautiful it was. So after an afternoon of making floral arrangements, bouquets, centerpieces, all of that, it's time to get ready for our little cocktail rehearsal reception instead of a rehearsal dinner. But I thought I'd show you the room. Now when you walk in, right to the right, you have a little coffee station. Lots of great options for coffee and tea for tomorrow morning. Then you turn to your left and you have bathroom number 1. And this is fully outfitted with your glass shower, your toilet, a nice big sink with some Grown Alchemist amenities. And when we first walked in, we saw that there was not a bathtub and we were a little disappointed, but just wait. So you continue on, you have the mini bar under here, a huge TV with a little living space. I doubt we will spend much time here. And then the view of Nashville is so pretty. So we're right on the river, as you can see. The Four Seasons is on Demumbrian Street, so this is kind of your view off to the side. Then turning to come into the master suite, we have the bedroom. Nice and cozy, big bed, continued view of the city. Then my favorite part, you come into the master suite bathroom and you have the tub, which we were hoping for because I did bring a Lush bath bomb with us and we might have to enjoy that tonight. We've already started to set some of our stuff out to get ready for the wedding tomorrow. Another huge glass shower and the toilet. I am vlogging when I should start getting ready for our little cocktail reception tonight. Lots of people coming in from out of town, from out of state, so I'm gonna start getting ready, but I hope you enjoyed seeing our room. Now, the only downside to having it at the Four Seasons in downtown Nashville on a Friday night is that I guess a bunch of our guests got a little gridlocked trying to leave the venue after the reception. And I didn't know that there were concerts going on, but apparently there were 2 different concerts going on that night. I think one at Ascend and then one at Bridgestone. And they let out sort of when the reception ended. My parents went down, they helped us clean up. I mean, the reception was over and they went downstairs, and friends of theirs who had supposedly left an hour earlier had been told by the valet that there was no way they could go to the lot and get their car for at least another 45 minutes. So I definitely felt a little bad that we didn't, I didn't know. We didn't even look to see what other events were going on downtown that day. Honestly, that's the only downside I can think of to having our wedding at the Four Seasons, was just the location of it for guests leaving who didn't stay at the hotel. The positives so far outweigh it though. It was the most beautiful view, and we had gorgeous weather, thank goodness, on the rooftop for the wedding ceremony. We had the best food at the reception. I think everyone commented on how good the food was. And I was so glad that we went back in June to do a tasting for the wedding reception, because we were able to choose different mains and different sides and things like that for the buffet. The food was such a highlight. And then the cake too. My mom made the most amazing chocolate cake with chocolate chips and raspberry filling, and it looked beautiful. It was perfect. It was white with the black ribbon and the roses on it. Everything went so well. I can't imagine things having gone any better. Now, as my camera battery is indeed dying, and I have 2 other dead batteries next to me on the floor, a couple things that I want to say I really think went well, and a couple things that maybe I regret or would have done differently. To start with what went well, as I mentioned, I did my own flowers for the wedding. We did Costco flowers, and I'll insert a clip here of when they came and putting them together, but we spent all of $450 on flowers, and that was for, I think, 300 roses or 350 roses, huge things of baby's breath, and 15 mix of boutonnieres and corsages for like $450, whereas other florists that I looked at in the area went like up to $8,000, $9,000 for the size of our space. So I would say if you are near a Costco, definitely worth doing your own flowers, but I'll insert the clip here for you. The first of the flowers have arrived from Costco. Oh my goodness. They are so beautiful. Oh my goodness. Now we have both boutonnieres and corsages in here. The corsages are actually going to go around their wrists, so we have those, and then the boutonnieres just pin on their lapels. A short while later now, and the rest of the flowers have arrived, so we got them from Costco, and I believe there are 7 bouquets of 50, and then the final box is all of the baby's breath. I get the fun task of unboxing all of these and getting them put in the vase. We're gonna put a very, very fine amount of water in the bottom of the vases with the food just to get them going. And then hopefully that will be all we need to get them over to the hall tomorrow. Now what's handy is that they've included a little directions packet in here. Well, I figure it's probably a better idea before I get cutting to take all of the vases that I have that I'm gonna put them in, get these all with a little bit of water in them, and then get the snipping and all of that done once I have a place to put them. I think that's the best way to attack it. They're so pretty. It is a couple of hours later now, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty proud of myself. We have unboxed all of the roses and used up way more vases than I anticipated. In fact, had to call in some emergency backup with those, but we are good to go. Not sure how it's gonna get to the venue, but that's a problem for tomorrow. This is the calm before the storm. Lots of centerpieces to do. The other thing that went really well is that we did not hire a videographer. All of the footage that you saw in the previous vlog was from my dear friend Melody. She actually sang at our wedding as well. She's a beautifully talented singer-songwriter here in Nashville. She did all of the filming at our wedding. She's such a good friend. And she had asked me what specifically I wanted on video, and so I gave her a few pointers, but she blew it out of the park, and I had so much fun editing her footage for last week's vlog. What didn't go so well? I really wish I wouldn't have done my own hair. My mom and I had such a nice bonding moment with the hot curlers and everything, but in retrospect, just looking at some of the photos, like the side with the clip looked really good, but this side just did not hold the curl the way I wanted it to. So I think that was kind of a bummer in my book. And then the only other thing is that we had to chop a table because we had maybe 10 or so people that didn't end up coming. So we were able to cut a full table, but I had already written all the place cards with everyone's name and table number on them and didn't have time to like redo them or scratch out the 10 and put a 9 or whatever table it was. That was kind of a bummer as well. But truly, those are the only 2 things that I would say I regret or would have done differently. I think that covers everything I wanted to chat with you about in this little wedding debrief. So I hope you enjoyed this video, a little bit of a different format from my usual, but I hope you found it informative and helpful, especially if you yourself are currently planning a wedding. If you have any questions though, feel free to drop them in the comments. If I can't answer them, maybe someone else can, but I will do my best. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for more.